Alright, welcome to day 2 of the Let's Start Lettering series. If this is your first time joining us, I suggest you go back to watch the 2 previous videos where I go through how this mini class works and the supplies needed. Okay, so yesterday we started off with the most basic strokes, and today we'll up in the difficulty level with the underturn and the overturn. So first we'll get our tracing paper right on top of our guides, and I'm using my brush pen first. This is a Pentel Touch sign pen. Here for the underturn, we'll start here on this middle line, and we'll start with a thick downstroke and then slowly transition up to a thin upstroke. Thick down, light up. And you want to make sure that as you're coming down, you're slowly letting off some of the pressure as you get ready to transition into your light upstroke. So thick down, start letting off some pressure, then up. And you want to do it keeping the same speed the whole way through. Thick down, then up. So it will be like right about here where you start letting off that pressure, so then you can slowly move up. If you don't let the pressure off, for example, here you can see that if I just keep going and then come up, this gets very thick. It's what people call a soggy bottom. So you want to make sure you don't get those by letting off the pressure and then coming up. If you're practicing with a regular pen, we're going to do the same thing. You'll do the shape, and then you come back and thicken that downstroke. And make sure that you're not going too fast, so your lines don't get all wobbly. And here you want to keep the same principles as with the brush pen. If this is the general area where we start easing off the pressure with the brush pen, then that's also the general area where your thick line starts getting thinner as it gets closer to the stroke. So you do this, and then you thicken it, making sure that you're getting closer and closer and closer until you close that gap. If you do a straight line instead, then it looks uneven. Again, you draw your underturn and then you thicken it, getting closer and closer and closer until you can close that gap. Okay, now let's move on to the overturn. As you can see, this is the opposite of the underturn, sorry. It starts at the bottom in a light upstroke and then transitions down to a thick downstroke. So light up, thick down, light up, thick down. And if you try that breathing trick from yesterday where you take a deep breath as you draw your upstroke and let it out slowly as you draw your downstroke, then that will help keep a good speed through these exercises. And this is similar to the underturn where you'll have to be gradual about the pressure. So you have your light upstroke, and then you go over and then slowly start applying pressure, which would be like around here. Light up slowly, then slowly start applying pressure. And now let's see the same with the regular pen. So we do the same thing that we did up here, where you draw the shape and then you go back and thicken it. And having these guides will help you to see when to start making that line thinner as you get closer to the stroke. That way you get that same effect and you don't get like a thick bottom or top over here. So let's do it again. You draw the shape, and then you go in and thicken it. So now before I let you go, here's a couple of tips I want you to keep in mind, especially when you're doing the freehand exercises. 1, make sure you keep these lines parallel to each other. I don't want you to start in one direction and then come down in another direction, especially because with your brush pens, that will mess up the tip. If you start like this and then you come out like this, then it just looks weird and it'll mess up the tip of your pen. And then tip number 2 is that this stroke should be done in a single movement without your pen leaving the paper. Yesterday when we were doing the combination exercise, because it was 2 different strokes, I asked you to lift your pen in between them. But when you're doing one single stroke, you want to make sure that your pen never leaves the paper while you're doing it. So one continuous movement. If you stop in the middle and then come back down, then you'll see this point right here where you lifted the pen, and it won't look as seamless as these strokes over here. Okay, that's it for day 2. See you tomorrow for our next lesson.